Let's compare this Saberforge Justicar lightsaber to a Graflex style lightsaber. And the Graflex style lightsaber I'm using in this video, it's called Rey's lightsaber. It was a Disney Parks exclusive, and it predates all of the Galaxy's Edge stuff. So it was part of the series that had Rey's lightsaber, Darth Vader's lightsaber, and Kylo Ren's lightsaber. So let's dive right into it. So Justicar was released in 2016 by Saberforge, and Saberforge touted it as a Graflex tribute lightsaber, and visually right away you can see there's definite inspiration in this hilt, but it also kind of does its own thing. It has its own kind of character and charm. So let's start at the top of the hilt and compare. So we see that both hilts have an S-curve emitter, and so it definitely takes that design element from the Graflex lightsaber, but the Graflex lightsaber does have this blade holder to it, and that is lacking from the Justicar lightsaber. Over here, well, here's kind of a big difference. The Justicar lightsaber doesn't have the bunny ears or kind of the button that you would see on Graflex style lightsabers, so that is left out. And then we do have this kind of little squarish window at the top of both of the hilts, and it is a little bit more curved. The emitter section is a little bit more curved on the Justicar than it is on at least this Graflex style lightsaber. Now moving over here, we can see that these kind of indented circular areas, they reference, you know, the circular areas on the Graflex style lightsaber here, although they do lack those little pins. And then this sort of squarish area here seems to reference the two rectangles here. And this is where the blade retention screw is, and then there's another retention screw down there. You can see there's no button or glass eye piece or anything like that in the Justicar saber here as well. I guess another point I should make is that just this section is black toward the top, whereas with the Graflex style lightsaber, it's all sort of a metallic silver color. Now moving down, okay, here's kind of a radical difference between the hilts, although I suppose we've already seen a few radical differences. Justicar has this little taper, this little choke point right here, and there's nothing even close to that on the Graflex style lightsabers. We do have an activation box on both of them, although it's kind of in a different position on the hilt, but the activation box is definitely shorter. It's not quite half the size, or it's a little bit over half the size rather, of the activation box on this Graflex lightsaber, but it's still about the same height, so it's not really a slim profile box by any means. And I know some people have commented before that this activation box, like others, it can get in the way during dueling, so keep that in mind if you're considering using this hilt as a dueling saber. Some people even said that the corners were a bit sharp. Now on this one anyway, it doesn't seem like they're too sharp, so maybe it depends on what you get, but at any rate, here are the activation switches. So these are the actual switches you would use to activate the lightsaber. On the Justicar, this activation box over here is purely decorative. Excuse me. Now we do have some lines here that they do kind of reference this Graflex saber here, it seems like, possibly, but they're a bit thicker and they're not in a series of 4 like they are here. You have a few lines that are in a series of 2. Now the grip section on these two hilts, I like kind of the visual of the grip section of, you know, the fluted grip section on the Justicar. You know, the black really kind of harkens back to the T-track grips of the Graflex style lightsaber, but, you know, it's just kind of this indented part of the hilt. It's just, the coloring is really what visually ties it to its kind of predecessor, or, you know, the style lightsaber that inspired it, the Graflex style lightsaber. And, you know, the grip section here, it's sort of internal, it's indented, whereas on the Graflex style lightsaber, these T-track grips, they're added after the fact. They're sort of a rubbery or plastic material that's added to a Graflex style lightsaber. Now once we get to the pommel section here, it's again pretty different. So Justicar has a cover tech wheel, so you could wear it. And if you're looking at like an Anakin Skywalker style Graflex lightsaber, that'll have a cover tech wheel too, because it's from the prequel era. But this one here has a D-ring, and the Saberforge hilt does not have a D-ring or anything like that on the pommel. So that's just kind of a quick rundown, quick comparison between these two lightsabers. So we have on the left a Saberforge Justicar lightsaber hilt, and on the right a Graflex style lightsaber. It's called Rey's lightsaber, and it's a Disney Parks exclusive. So feel free to comment below, but this is kind of a neat tribute lightsaber made by Saberforge, I think.